That's it. We just posted data. We put data in the cloud with that one line of stuff, okay? Hey guys, just sitting here on this gloomy morning waiting for a meeting to start, so I thought I'd show you this new application. Now here's the problem that people run into. They see all this talk about things like this. I mean, I even did this on my channel, right? This is a IoT device, an Internet of Things device. Okay, and you hear all this talk about the Internet of Things, and then you hear about this stuff like, oh, you know, the ESP32, it's this wonderful chip just for the Internet of Things, it has Wi-Fi on it, you can do this, you can do that. Okay, well that's all well and good, but what you don't hear is when you have something like this, I mean, I kind of touched on it in the video I did on this weather thing, is that when this takes a reading, I mean, so you got your device here and it reads temperature, humidity, pressure, connects to the internet, and then it sends it somewhere. Well, where does it send it? And that is the key that's missing for most people, like you know, the viewers on this channel. That's the key that's missing. Where do you send it? Okay, so maybe you've gotten yourself an ESP32. Here we got a little fun board. We got lots of ESP32 things here. They're all connected to the internet. So you get this, you start doing some Micropython, you get pretty good at that. You can connect to the internet, you can read sensors, you can flash lights and all that. But then you want to make an IoT device and you're stuck because what you're missing is that place to send your data. So what you have to have is a server somewhere. So then you gotta get some space on DigitalOcean. You got to set up a Linux box up there. You have to get yourself a domain name. You have to worry about certificates and HTTPS, and then you got to build yourself an API to accept your data, and on and on and on. Well, that's a different kind of programming than what most of you guys are doing with this. And so it's a roadblock. In fact, a guy wrote me the other day, and we were talking about this, and he just hit a roadblock because he couldn't hit that and do that next part. So what I've done is come up with an application for you guys to use that does that part for you. So this is a place on the cloud where you can take your data here, you can just one line, just send data up there. I've already written the software for your ESP32 and your desktop. So just with one line of code, you can send data up there and it's there, and then you can retrieve it back to here if you want, or you could, retrieve it to here, or you can bring it down to your desktop or any. All right, we had a technical difficulty there. All right. Anyway, so you can bring it down to your desktop, whatever you need to do. So it's just like a place where you can send data and it can stay there for a little while, and then you can bring it down to another device, whatever you need. So you can swap commands. You can send something from your desktop out to here. You can send something from here, go to there, and then to your desktop, whatever you need to do. So I'm going to switch over to screen record and let's go over this thing. Okay, cool. All right, we're starting here on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe because it helps me, right? So please do. All right, we'll go up here. Now this is a fresh start of Firefox. There's nothing in here. Everything's fresh, just like you guys might encounter it. So we're going to go to eziot.link, L-I-N-K. That's all we got to do. And it takes us there. Now you'll see that this is unsecure, so if you want, you can do HTTPS and get to the secure link, or the secure site. But it really doesn't matter because there's really nothing happening on the website. It's just a landing spot and a place where you can find the links to the places that you want to go. Okay, so the website's not really doing anything. It's just a front end to the server to where the API exists that will be hitting that API with our Python tools. Okay, So the links that are here, well, here's a link to my Patreon account. If you want to be a Patreon, that helps support, pay for the server and all that kind of stuff. And then the other main link is to GitLab, to Easy IoT on GitLab, where all the instructions are, where the files are, the stuff that you need. Okay, and then there's a link to my YouTube channel, and here down here is a link to IoT.io. Now, Easy IoT is made for us. It's for hobbyists and developers. It's a place where you can take your device, you can send data up here, it'll stay here, and then you can pull it down to your desktop. Or you can send commands from your desktop up to here and then pull them down to your device and do things. But it's not a full service cloud IoT location. If you need something like that where you have indefinite storage, all sorts of analytics and tracking and artificial intelligence and all that, then you need to go to IoT.io. For us, this is just a hub where we can send data and use it some other place. Okay? Alright, so that's the main links that we have. So let's head on over to GitLab. Once we get over to GitLab, you can see that I am not signed in, okay, and you guys don't need to be signed in either. This is an open repository for downloading. Alright, now the two files that you are interested in, well, really the one file that you're primarily interested in is easyiot.py. Okay, this is the SDK, or software development kit. And if you scroll down, you'll see that it has imports for Micropython, so it will work on Micropython. It also has imports for regular Python, so it will work on your desktop. Works in either place. Okay, so we need this. All right, so well, actually, let's just go ahead and hit the download, and I'm going to save the file, and it's done. Okay, so let's go back. Now the other file that you might want is the REPL-ACE.py, and this is a file that you can use to upload easyiot.py to your ESP32. It's what I use, so I'm going to go ahead and download that as well. You can use whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Here we go. Okay, so, and then the last thing is the README file, which will be displayed right here. So the README file has an introduction to what Easy IoT is. We've already started talking about that. It's just a place where you can take data from your device, you can send it up to the cloud, and then you can download it to your desktop, or you can download it back to another device, so you can swap data between devices, that sort of thing. Brief overview of what you can do. You can upload data. You can upload up to 1,024 rows. And then after 1,024 rows, if you upload again, it's going to drop the oldest row off of there. Okay. You get 6 items that you can upload. You can put a group in, like what group of IoT devices you're using. You can put a device name in. And then you've got 4 data spots. These can take integers, they can take floats, or they can take strings. These first 3, data 1, data 2, and data 3, they can take strings up to 32 characters long. So that would be for names and stuff like that. And then the last one, data 4, it can take a string up to 256 characters long. So that would be for a place if you wanted to put up a little bit of JSON or something like that, some extended data, you could stick it there. Okay. Now that seems limited, but it's really not. It probably would take care of 95% of the IoT devices that exist in the world. I mean, because you're just sending little things of data up there. You're not sending huge amounts of data. I mean, there are some, but most don't. So this will take care of a lot of stuff. Okay, so you can upload your data, and then of course you can get your data back. Okay, whatever you put up there, you can get it back. You get timestamps, and you get the IP address of of where it was sent from when you get it back. And then of course you can delete your data. I'm not interested in your data. You put it up there, you manage it, you delete it, whatever you want to do. And then, you know, we talked about passing data between devices by uploading and downloading between devices. Now, things you can't do. Look, Easy IoT, it's not for unlimited data. We talked about what you can do. It's not for huge data. Okay, you got to get a better service like something like IoT if you need to put huge amounts of data and keep it forever. And then, you know, user support. You know, I'm building this for our community on YouTube to use, and it's tested, it works, so just follow the instructions. There's your user support. This is the user support file we're reading right there. I mean, it's just me, guys. Okay, so security. You know, don't use this for personal data. Don't use it for military secrets. Don't use it for commercial secrets. You know, we use HTTPS for the web traffic, but in the back end, we're not storing it in an encrypted fashion. So, you know, use it to swap data around. Don't use it for anything that's critical. If you need that, then you need to buy a, you know, pay for a real IoT cloud service, or, you know, make your own. Okay, and then here's the documentation. So I guess I'll add this video or some video. I'll put a video up here pretty soon. Okay, and then this is the test, kind of the test run stuff. We'll go through this, but this is just explains how to do everything. So you can do some testing. You can get an account. This is what we're going to be doing. And then here's the different functions. Now this stuff is rate limited. I mean, your target rate limit is once per second, right? But if you have a bunch of devices and they're sending data, there's a little bit of buffer in there. So if, you know, a couple of them send data at the same time, it's going to still work, okay? Then everything is identified by row IDs, and there's just different stuff in there. And then, so this is how you post data. We'll go through that. This is how you get data. This is how you delete your data. You can get stats. There's some extra functions for connecting to Wi-Fi if you're on an ESP32 or something using Micropython. We'll go through getting credentials so you can have your own account. And then there's just some tips and tricks in here. Okay. All right. So we have downloaded the two files that we're going to use, and now we're going to shift over to a directory and a command line and give them a shot. Alright, here is a directory I've created. This is just a fresh directory. The only thing in it is the two files that we downloaded. Now notice they did change the name a little bit when we downloaded them, so we'll rename those things to what they should be, which is just take off the GitLab folder. Alright. Okay, so we'll use this one, REPL-A's, we'll use that when we load to the ESP32, but right now we're on the desktop and we're just going to use easyIoT.py, that's the software development kit, the SDK. We're going to use this with Python on the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to pop it open and then let me adjust it. Now I'm doing everything new here just as if you guys were doing it. Okay, so let me get this adjusted where you can see it. Okay, so here we go, software development kit. There it is. Now the first thing we're going to look at is this. The API key and secret and version, those are credentials, and you will get your own credentials eventually, but these are credentials. It just comes with the credentials for an example set of data up on the up in the cloud, and we're just going to use that. Everybody can use that. You don't have to get your own credentials, but if you use this, you're going to be mixing your data with other people's data. It's possible to do it, but you know, no reason not to get your own thing. Okay, so there's that. Here's our base URL that we're gonna be hitting to get it. You see it's the Easy IoT. We're using HTTPS, right, because we want it secure, our data transfer to be secure, and then we're going to hit the API, which is the the application programming interface, right? And that's where the exchange happens. But you don't need to know about that. All right, here's Micropython imports or regular Python imports. Okay, if you're just going to use it for Micropython, you could take out this and use this stuff down here, but it doesn't matter. Okay, now here are the functions that we can do. Stats, we can get stats for our data. We can post data. That just means send some data, send these things up and post it on the cloud. We can get that data back, and we can delete that data. Okay, and then there's a couple of functions for once you're on your ESP32 or Micropython device. These are some Wi-Fi functions. You can scan your basic connect and disconnect. All right, this is the request functions, which you won't ever have to bother with. All right, and then credentials. We can get credentials, and this will just guide you through getting credentials for yourself so that you have your own space on the cloud where you can put your own data. Okay, and it's just based on your email. And then when you're done, or if you're ever done, or if you ever want, you can delete your credentials, and that will just completely wipe you off the system as if you never existed. Okay. So that's it. That's it. That's all we need to do. We just need to be able to put data up there, and we need to know what data we've got up there. So that's all there is to it. So we're using this initially, the example account. So let's just hit F5 and run this thing. And let me get it to where you guys can see it. Hold on, almost there. I'm going to let it run off the end a little bit. It'll just make it easier to see the data. Okay, so the first thing, let's just do stats. Okay, so this is for the example account. So our stats tell us that this is the size on disk. There's no data up there, so we'll have to put some up there. And let's see, so there's no minimum row ID, there's no maximum row ID. I guess we'll have to put some up there. I thought I had something running that was putting data up there. But then it'll have a rate limit. Now that for this example account, you can it's rate limited at 2 requests per second. There's a little burst buffer and that sort of thing. And then there's an email over here that's associated with the account, but that's not even a real email, so don't worry about that. All right, so since there is no data up there, let's just put some data up there. So all we got to do is do post data, and whoops, got to spell it right. All right, and then remember, well, since we're on the desktop, let's do this, and it'll tell us. We can put the group, we can put a group, a device, and then we have 4 spots for data. So let's just say our group will be test or testing, okay? And our device, let's just make it desktop 1. How about that? And then let's put some data up there. We'll do 123, that's an integer. We'll do 123.456, there's your float. And then how about a hello world for some text. And then, you know, we don't even have to put them all in there. We don't have to fill all the spots. So let's just do that. Okay, so we posted data. That's it. We just posted data. We put data in the cloud with that one line of stuff. Okay, and what it returns for us is the row ID of the row that we just added to the data. So if we get stats now, we'll see that there is one row of data in there, and the minimum row ID is 1, and 1 is the max. Okay. All right. So let's just stick another data in there. Actually, why don't we do? I'll tell you what we can do. Let's just do a little thing. So for X in range 10. Now this is going to burst data, and it'll handle this little burst, but then so let's just put X right here, and then we don't even need this, and we'll make this, since we're on our desktop, I'll use an F string, and we'll put X right there too. All right. Now this is going to do a burst of 10. It's going to load it up there. Now it probably won't hit the limit. Yeah, if we did many more than that, it would hit the limit. Okay, so every time it posted data, it returned to us the row ID of the data that we posted. So we had already posted 1, so it started at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if we do our stats now, you can see we have 11 rows of data. The lowest row ID is 1, and the maximum row ID is 11. Now the lowest row ID won't always be 1. So let's say after you put 1,024 rows of data in there, then you put another one in there, it's going to drop row 1 off, and you're going to have 1,025. So this would become 2, and then every time you add, it's going to drop it off the bottom. Okay. All right, so that's us putting data on the cloud. So the next thing we need to do is we need to get the data back. So we know how to do stats, we know how to post data, and so let's get some data back. Okay, so for getting data, we can just say, give me 10 lines, and that will give us the most recent 10 lines. Or we could say, give us some data after a particular row ID. And then we could add the group or device, so it would match only rows that have that group or only rows that have that device. So that would that allows you to exchange commands. So if your group you could say the group is command, and the device would be maybe funboard 1. So then your desktop, you could send up, hey, funboard 1, do this, and then funboard 1 could pull it down and then do the command. Okay, so get data. So here's a little trick. We could just say, well, let's just do a number. Okay, so let's just say get data 5. Now that should return the last 5 things. Now you'll see it's a list of lists of data. So why don't we do this? For row in get data 5, print row. That'll make it easier to see. Okay, so the last 5 pieces of data that were loaded up there by us is 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7 were the row IDs. Now here's what's being returned. Here, this is your row ID. This is your epoch time, right? It's the number of seconds since January 1st, 1970. That's how computers keep time. And then this is the epoch time converted to GMT. All right, and then normally you would get an IP of what put the data up there, but because everybody's doing this, we're not doing IPs right here. Okay, and then there was our group name, and then here is our device, the target device or the device that posted it, whatever you put in there. And then here's the numbers we put in there. Here's our hello world, and then you see these 2 are none because we weren't posting any data there. Okay. Now here's a little trick. So if we bring this down, we can do after. So I want to see the data after row ID 5. Now this will return all data with a row ID that's after row ID 5. Okay, so there you see it. It started, the earliest one was 6. Alright, so we could do, now here's a little trick, we could say after 0. Now 0 never exists as a row ID, so if you use after 0, it's going to bring back everything that you've done, or the whole 1,024 or however many you have. Okay, so that brought back all of our data, because everything after row ID 0. Okay. And let's see, if we wanted to, well, we need to add data. So let's post data with something different in it. Post data, and our group can be, let's just do that. Okay, so now Let's pull back all that data again, and you'll see that row ID 12, right? We saw row ID 12 there. It's just group 2, and then everything else was empty. Okay, so we can do this. Let's do this again, but instead of doing that, we can actually specify the group. So group equals group 2. Now, it's only going to pull back 1, of course, because we only did one that had a group name of group 2. But that way you can select more specifically what you want to get, right? So we can do that for group, or we could do that for device. Either one. Alright, that's how you get your data back. Now, delete data. We can delete it by giving it row IDs. We can delete everything before a row ID, or we can delete all the data. Okay, so let's try it out. Okay, so we just do delete data, and we can say, well, if we just want to do one, you can actually cheat. Well, let's do it the right way first, okay? So row IDs equals, and then we have a list. So let's pick one out in the middle. Let's go with row ID 8. It's in the middle of the data set, sort of. 8. Well, we can do 8. Well, let's go ahead and do 7 as well. Okay, so we're just telling it delete data row IDs 7 and 8, so they should go away. Alright, what gets returned is the number of row IDs that were deleted. So it did delete 2 row IDs. Now if we did this and we said, you know, 800 and 700, it's not going to return anything because those row IDs don't exist, right? Alright, so now that we've done that, let's pull this down, and we'll see that 9, and then it jumps to 6, so those are gone. So we deleted row IDs. Now the trick that I was going to show you is if you just have one thing, you don't have to give it a list. You can just say, you know, delete data 9, and then if we pull this down, there you go, 9's gone. Okay, and then let's say we want to get rid of some old data. So we posted data, we read data. You know, that's the thing about, that's why the before and after things, you know, after for reading and before for deleting, it's so that we don't have to pull, let's say we got 1,000 rows of data in there, we don't need to pull that down every time. That's hard for your ESP32 to process, and it wastes bandwidth on the server and all that kind of stuff. So we just will, we can delete old data by using before, and we can get new data by using after, and say, you know, like saying after the last row ID that I saw. Okay, so we just keep track of that. So, all right, well, delete data before, what, let's say before 3. Okay, so before 3 is going to delete only 2 and 1, and so we see that we have 2 things that were deleted. And then if we drop this down and try it again, you'll see that 2 and 1 are now gone. Okay? And then, let's see. The last thing is xall equals true. So any true value for xall, oh, that's the wrong thing. That's going to give you an error. I'm supposed to be doing delete. Yeah. Okay, xall equals true, or you could do xall equals 1, anything that evaluates to true. If we do that, it says it deleted 7 rows of data, and then if we do this, we get nothing back. Oh no, we did the wrong thing. If we do this, can we get some rows? We can't get any rows. There's nothing left. So see what stats says. Yeah, so for stats, we've got no rows, no row IDs. We deleted all of our data. Well, we deleted all the data in the example thing. Okay, so that's all the functions. That's all you need. You push data up there, you pull data back. You can exchange data by pushing it from one place and pulling it from another. All that kind of stuff. So the next thing is, how do we get an account? All right, the next step is to get some credentials of our own. All right, so what we're going to use is this command right here, get creds. There's no keywords or anything like that, right? So let's jump back over here to our window, which I have cleared out, and we're just going to do, well, we have to type the right thing, get creds. Alright, now I'm going to use my email address because I need to receive an email, so don't. And I'm setting up a real account. Alright, so what's your email? What's your email again, just to make sure you got it right. Now it's saying, hey, look, I just checked and I don't know you, so do you want to create a new account? Well, yes I do. And then it's going to ask you to read some stuff, and you should read this stuff and agree to it. So what is it saying? It's saying this is a free experimental service that's for my Patreon and YouTube supporters. And I may not keep it forever. I may dump you off there if you're not someone that I know. But for now, we'll just make it available to everybody, even if you're not a Patreon supporter. Let's see, you shouldn't be sending any sensitive data, right? We use encryption on the front end, but we don't on the back end, so your stuff is not stored in an encrypted way. Don't send anything sensitive. Don't send anything that's commercial, medical, military, whatever. If it's critical data, that's not what this is for. This is for your IoT experimental and development devices, right? Don't do anything illegal. This isn't a forever place. If you need forever, then download it immediately. Let's see. Keep your key and secret, which we're about to get. Keep those hidden. Don't give those to anybody because they can manipulate your account using those. And then this just says, hey, I'll be a good part of the community. I won't abuse things. I won't download too much data. I won't try to sign into anybody's account. I'll just be a nice person on the community. So do you agree? Yeah, I agree to all that because it makes sense. Alright, so then it's going to send a code to your email, and we need to get that code. So I'm going to go and get that code from my email right now. And now I'm back with the code, and I just copied it and I'm going to paste it right there. Okay, so that just verifies that your email address is good, and then it says, hey, I sent your new credentials to your email address. So I go get my new credentials. Okay, now I have my new credentials, so let me show you what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to go up here to the top of the script, and underneath these, I'm going to paste exactly what was sent to me, which is a copy. This is the example account, and this is my new account. And I know I just told you not to let people see your key and secret, but by the time you watch this video, I will have already changed them. So don't worry about that. You won't be able to use my account. Okay, so now I've got my own stuff in there, right? I mean, this is my own account. Okay, and so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to F5 it, and here we are back again with our new account. Okay, so if we do stats, we can look and see that the email associated with this account is now my email. Okay, so this is my account. You see the size is 0. No one's ever done anything in here. Alright, so let's post some data. Post data. I'm just going to say hello. Alright, so let's do a get data. We'll get data 1. Alright, so there it is. So my current IP address. You can see it now. That's my current IP address, and here's the epoch time, and that's the data I put in there. It's not really a group name, but you don't really have, that's just a suggestion. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and then well, I'm not going to delete this now, but if I wanted to delete it, then I would just do delete creds, and then it would ask me, do you really want to delete this? But I don't, because we're about to go over onto the ESP32 and do it there. But if we did want to delete it, we could say yes here, and it would just totally wipe us off the system. Okay, but we'll say no for now, and just to make sure that we didn't wipe ourselves off the system, we can get our stats, and there you go. So we still got one row of data in there. Now you'll see that my max rate as a regular user is once per second. That's the target you should do. Is not making a query or request, a post, a delete, whatever. Don't make a query but once a second, and that's just for community, right? I have this running on a, it's not a huge server that I have it running on. So, okay, so that's all there is to getting credentials. The last thing we got to do is go over and get on the ESP32. Load our stuff on the ESP32 and try it from the ESP32. Alright, so we're back to our folder, and we are about to connect up to the ESP32. But to get started, I'm going to pop open a terminal here, and let me connect up to the ESP32. So there we are. I'm going to, I just want to show you that I'm starting with, there's no files in here. Okay, so everything that we're going to be using is in the easyiot.py script that we will use. We're about to load it up here. Okay, so we got clean slate, fresh install of Micropython. Alright, now let's pop this open. This is EasyIoT. Now the thing that we want to make sure is that we have put our credentials in here, and here are our credentials. We could comment this out if we wanted to. And the other thing that we don't really need, if you want, is you can go down here and comment out all of this credential stuff, because it just is taking up space that you don't need. Okay, so we can comment all of the credential stuff out, because we're not going to be doing credentials stuff on the ESP32. Okay, so that's all we need to make sure we have. Got our credentials in here, and you can or can't, it doesn't matter, comment out the extra stuff. Okay, and then we've got the terminal open, so I'm going to get out of, now this is connected to the ESP32, I'm going to get out of that. Control A, Control X, I'm using PicoCom. Control A, Control X gets us out of there, and then I am going to load up the, I'm going to use REPL-ACE to load to my ESP32. Now I'm showing you this just so you'll be reminded. If I do this, it says permission denied, and that's because I haven't made it where I can execute REPL-ACE. So I'm just going to do change mod plus X, making it executable, and we're doing it on REPL-ACE. Alright, and now we can do this. So what this is saying is I'm going to run REPL-ACE. This is the port that we're on. I'm on a Linux box, of course. So this is the port, and then I want to include easyiot.py. Okay? So it is compiling it. Now the nice thing about REPL-ACE is that it cross compiles it for you already, so that it's smaller and loads faster. Okay, but there it is. We've loaded it up. So let's connect back up to our ESP32. Oh, let me just get out of there. That's part of the load. So I'm going to do a Control D, which is a reboot, and then I'm going to import OS. We'll see what's happening. Okay, so you can see the only thing we have is Easy IoT. Okay, so let's just import Easy IoT. Actually, let's make it easier. Let's just do from Easy IoT. Can't type to save my life. Import everything. I need help. Okay, so from Easy IoT, import everything. Now, on the ESP32, different from the desktop, we do have to connect to the internet. So we can do, remember I included some tools. So let me pop that open. Tools that we have for the internet. We have Wi-Fi scan and Wi-Fi connect. And that's what I'm going to use, Wi-Fi connect. So let me get my terminal back. Let's get rid of this. Alright, so got my terminal back, and I'm just going to do Wi-Fi connect. And I'm going to connect to my test network. Let's see, DarwinNet test, that's what we're going to use. So I got a bunch of Wi-Fi networks I can use, and this is my test one. And here's my crazy password. Alright, now of course you wouldn't want to show your stuff if it was important, but this is just the test network, it's not important. Alright, so let's connect. Come on, buddy, you can do it. There we go. Alright, we're connected. So now we can just do the same things that we did on the desktop. So let's start with stats. Now you'll notice on the ESP32 it does take a little bit longer to get stats or to make these connections, right? So you really don't have to worry too much about rate limits when you're using your ESP32. It just doesn't work that fast. Okay, so let's see. So from the desktop, you know, we had here the rows that we had. We only had one row that we stuck in there, but now we can see it using the ESP32. So let's do. Well, let's do this for row and get data. Print row. So it takes it a little while to do it, and then there's our row. So that was the row that we added from the desktop, if you remember. Okay, so now we can add data. Let's see, let's say we're going to use a group, so we can say maybe our group is ESP32, and maybe we're using Funboard 1, and let's say hello from an ESP32. So it's posting it, should give us row ID 2. So if we do this, we should get back both our. Oh, I only asked for one row of data. Okay, hold on. Let's ask for, let's see, we'll say one row, but I'm going to give after. That 0 would be the same as doing after 0, right? Like that. It'd be the same as that. Well, we'll just do it like that. That'll give us all our rows. Okay, so there's all our rows. So the last one we added was this one, hello from the Funboard, or from the ESP32. Alright, now if we go back to the desktop, okay, so this is the desktop, and let me do an F5, get a screen open, and let's post data. Let's call it a command. So let's say we're going to send a command, and we want to send it to funboard1, and we're going to say eat my shorts. Okay, so we've posted that data on funboard1 or to the cloud. Now let's go back over here, and let's see, for row and group equals command device equals what? We call it funboard1. So this would be how you would, so let's do make sure we get everything. So let's see what commands we have available to us. Ta-da! Okay, so we asked for everything after 0, which means give me everything, where the group equals command and the device is funboard1. So we see that what we did on the desktop has now showed up here, and we could run, let's say this was a real command, and then we could run the command, and then we could get rid of it, right? So we could say, we could delete data 3, that's row ID 3. So we're done with a command. Okay. Alright, so we've deleted that, and then we could respond back. Maybe we would, let's see, we could post data, and we could say that the group would be response, and this is a response from funboard1, and we could say I did it, and we post that data. And then if we go back to, let me find it here, this is our desktop, get data. This is going to get all the data. Oh, I should have done whoops. What did I do wrong? For row in get data print row. There we go. So let me expand this a little bit. Okay, so here's our response back from funboard1. I did it. So that was just an example of how we could use our desktop. We sent a command with the desktop, and now we get the command back that it was completed. Okay, so that's really all there is to it. So we can send commands up there, or send data up there, we can pull data down, and we can have a conversation between our devices. Alright, so that's pretty much it. So I'm going to Control A and Control X, and I'm out of here. Alright, that's about it. It should be, because it's a different day. I've been at this for a week. I even got a haircut. I even changed clothes. But anyway, that's about it. Now look, I need you guys to get your IoT device and try this thing out. Get yourself an account and start loading some data up there, and let's see how this thing works. I think it's going to work great. I think we can all use it. So get something set up and try it out. Look how long this makes my arms look.